So today we're gonna cut hay for the first time this year. We're about a month late because it has just been so rainy this spring. Now I've already been out to the hay field. I walked along the back. It likes to hold water back there in that first hay field, and it seemed there's no standing water. I think we're good to go. So we're all hitched up to the hay mower. So let's head out there and get started. Oh, almost hit that tree. That was close. Probably need to trim a little bit more. All right, I'm out here in the East Hayfield. This is the first one you get to when you come across the pond dam. And this is the one that holds water back there along that tree line. We got about a ½ inch of rain yesterday. That's why I was worried. But the other hayfield, it doesn't hold water. So as long as this field is fine, the other hayfield should be fine as well. And on the hay mower, I've already got it swung over to the cutting position. Right here in this pin, right there, that's the travel position. And then when you cut, you gotta move that arm over. That way the mower sits to the side of the tractor. And I just noticed on this wide belt here, I do have a little bit of a hole right there, and then a little bit of a tear right there. It's starting to wear out. So it's already about 3 in the afternoon. I worked on the lawnmower this morning, and I replaced both ignition coils. Rebecca's mowing. It looks like so far, hopefully that fixed it, but it's already getting late, so let's get started. Just finished up the first hayfield. Everything went fine, no problems. And I did notice something this time around. So last time I cut hay last year, I didn't have these windrow deflectors on here. And I know we've got these opened up all the way, but they're still kind of blocking the sides, right? And I can tell a difference in the windrow, even with those opened up all the way. So when we look down the windrow here where the grass is piled up, you can see a clear strip here and a clear strip over there. And before there was hardly, it was real small. And that gives you like a nice path to be able to drive the tractor, not really drive on top of the hay. So that'll probably come in handy when we're raking it. But down here on the mower, this little skid shoe plate here on the left-hand side, that plate is supposed to run right there where there's no grass. And especially like on a sickle bar mower, it's pretty important or it bunches up. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's definitely giving you a nice clear area to be able to line the mower up and to be able to make your next cut. So I think that the windrow actually looks better. Now through this opening here is how we get back to the other hay field. And I'll go through this opening 3 or 4 times just to make sure we get all this cut and baled too. Don't want it to go to waste. As I get farther away from the tractor, I can hear Rebecca mowing still. So the lawnmower's still running. That's a good thing. Before, oh man, the best it would do is maybe run an hour and then it'd start messing up. But here is the other hay field. Heck, it looks more mature than the other one. It's turning more yellow than the last hay field was. So like I said before, we were like a month behind on cutting hay, and that's why this is so mature out here. Definitely not ideal. So it's a little after 4 in the evening now, so took me just over an hour to cut that field. This one should take about the same amount of time, so let's get to it. Well, I got down to the final strip in this field. I probably shouldn't have said everything was going pretty good. And I thought something was sounding funny. I stopped and I listened, and as I started to turn around to do my last pass, my little shield that I made to guard the chain on this side, my little shield I made, fell off the machine. So now my, the gear and the chain is all exposed. And I did that to keep hay from getting all wound in this, because that's happened, because this whole side has been missing ever since I've owned it. I thought maybe I saw something else. What was this? And I also saw this fall off too. And that, I believe, is a piece of the rubber roller that is inside of here. So this top roller right here, this is rubber, and then the bottom roller is metal, and I bet you that's off the roller. Yeah, right there, there's a chunk missing. That's not a good sign, because once this starts happening, it's not going to take long for a bunch more of that rubber to come off. So kind of got a feeling that my time is using this Heston PT10, which it's old. This is from like the 1960s, probably mid 1960s. I'd say my time of using this is going to be pretty short. So I might be able to get the rest of the season out of it, but definitely need to start looking for a new hay mower. So this guard I made, that's just out of some roofing. That's the back side of it. It's actually brown roofing from our house that I had left over. And you can see it broke out here, it broke out there. You can see still attached. And then there was a couple of screws down here it was holding it, and it must have pulled out there too. I guess I should look on the bright side. At least this didn't fall off until the last pass. But I'll go ahead, I'll get turned around and I'll do this last pass here, and then this field will be done. So one thing I can say is this field and the other field, the east and west fields, both the same acreage, both the same size, but I can tell by the way the windrow is when you look at it and just the way it cut, I can tell there is more hay in this field than there is in the other. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get an extra 3 to 5 bales more on this field than the other field. We'll just have to wait 2 or 3 more days. We'll find out. Well, I don't think I got time to make a new guard, so we'll see if we can get this one back on. That bit's horrible. Let me throw that thing away. Find me a different one. That is, doesn't even, it's not even 6-sided anymore. It's like round. Well, that ought to work. I mean, its only purpose is just to keep the grass from getting in the gears. So I talked to Rebecca about maybe separating out Ollie, our little bull, and that way we can combine the rest of the cattle together, and then we wouldn't have to really worry about him getting our brand new heifers pregnant. And she did a little bit of reading, and from what she read, our little bull is 9 months old. Our brand new heifers we just bought are 12 months old. And from what she read, the little bull really shouldn't be really mature enough to get them pregnant till he's about 1 year old. So that's like in 3 more months. And in 3 more months, the heifers will be old enough that we would want to try to get them pregnant. So we decided to just go ahead and combine everybody together and make one big herd, and we'll just wait and see what happens. So all the cattle are together right now. They're here in the barn, and it looks like they have made a mess. Why is there water all over the ground? This was fine just the other day. The other day I caught some of them standing in this short trough, which is actually for the ram to be able to be in. That's why it's so muddy. It needs cleaned out. But it looks like they have moved this float. And I think they got that float up high enough. The water level was high and then rolling over that edge right there. That's probably why it's so filled up in here with water. So after we combined all the cattle together, we closed the gate down there, and the only gate we have open is this one right here that leads out to this area of pasture that is inside of the hot wire. And we had so much trouble with them crossing that hot wire trying to get to each other. And now that they're combined, they have no reason to get out, and it's been keeping them in just fine. So after I cut hay, I went and talked to Rebecca because I wanted to find out exactly what our plans were going to be this weekend, because there's this homesteading festival that's only like an hour away from us. And I think that the way that the hay is and the time it needs to dry, I think we can go to it. It's called the Homestead Freedom Festival, and it's at a place called the South Fork Homestead near Paris, Illinois. So I think after we talked, I think we decided we're going to go. So we're going to go in the morning, and we're going to listen to a couple speakers. We're going to check it all out. And then it's a 2-day festival. And then we're also planning on going back the next day. And on Saturday, the next day, we'll should be able to listen to Joel Salatin speak from Polyface Farms. And we should be able to hear Temple Grande, which is she's like an animal behavioralist, and she's going to talk about homestead livestock. So it ought to be kind of an interesting trip. And that's what we're going to do in the morning. All right, it's next day now. We just got here to the Homestead Freedom Festival. And when we were walking through the door, the first person we ran into was Clyde from Clyde's Garden Planter. You hear me talk about that every year when I plant seeds. He's going to do a talk this morning at 9 a.m. So we're going to go listen to him. But this is our first time here at the South Fork Homestead. And it's definitely set up to bring your kids here and have like a day where they got hay rides, and they had farm animals. They got like a little town, like a little western town set up here, and it's all set up for like a fun day out with your kids is what it's set up for. So we got a couple minutes before Clyde starts to speak. In this little barn right here, they have it set up for a chicken processing seminar that's going to be put on by Joel Salatin tomorrow afternoon. But you can see they've got it set up with a sink. They've got the chicken plucker, they've got the scalder, and then they've got the killing cones over there. And for somebody who wanted to learn how to process chickens, this would be a good seminar for somebody to go to, especially with Joel Salatin teaching it. So they got a little bit of everything here. They actually got a little vineyard as well. They got about 4 rows of grapevines here. And you can see they're gonna have plenty of grapes this year. Well, it's lunchtime now. We got to hear Clyde talk over at his tent.
In the springtime, that my wife will say to me, if you bring one more tray of food in here, I'm gonna hurt you.
And then we also got to listen to Zach Bauer from An American Homestead.
We've been off-grid since 2012, and we grow our own food, a lot of our own food, a lot of our own animals. We raise sheep, we raise chickens, we raise quail. We have a number of immediate neighbors who raise cows, so if we want beef, we trade for beef.
So if you don't know him, he's actually one of the people I watched years ago before we ever bought property. And yeah, he was a good speaker. So I'm gonna go around, we're gonna go check out some of the vendors that are here, and then we need to go home because we got more work to do. So right here is Alumacoops. These are aluminum welded chicken coops. They're like chicken tractors you can move around. These are actually made in Indiana, right here in America. There's a booth here from Shiver and Sweat Woodworks. They have a bunch of these homemade bread knives. They also got some pepper grinders, some stuff all made out of wood. I always like looking at the stuff that are turned on a lathe.
I wanted to know how much they want.
Seen lots of honey vendors and vendors selling different beekeeping equipment here. Here's a booth called For Utterly Easy, and they've made this little contraption here that's like a little milking machine. So I think this would work, personally, in my opinion, I think it would work good on sheep and goats, but you just squeeze the handle and it pulls vacuum and then puts the milk right into the bottle. Nothing's dirty. Yep, Utterly Easy, made in the United States. So we just stopped at this booth right over here, and this is the Kings Ridge elderberries, and we bought a couple elderberry plants. We actually haven't had elderberries before. We got to do a taste test of some elderberry syrup.
Very, very good. And
Yeah.
it's really good for your immune system. So
Yeah, it's supposed to have some medicinal value to
Yes.
it as well. Yeah, so we ended up picking some of those up. If you guys are interested, I'm not sure where they're located out of, but
it says Lynn, Indiana.
okay, they're located in Indiana.
Yeah.
Gonna pick up some honey for the neighbor. Two Brothers Honeybees in Marshall, Illinois, which is not too far from us. This booth is Cool Creek Forge. And of course they're blacksmiths, so lots of blacksmith items. All right, it's lunchtime now. See all the food trucks back behind me. We're gonna not eat lunch here. We're gonna head home because we got some more work to do, and we'll be back tomorrow. All right, we just got home from the Homestead Freedom Festival, and I got a package here on the porch. So it's a package from PowerFlex Fence. I ordered the brand new solar fence charger, so let's open it up and see if we can go get it installed out in the field. And I ended up ordering the Gallagher S60. This is a solar fence charger. It's supposed to have a lithium battery on the inside. Well, that is a lot smaller than my old fence charger, that's for sure. It does come with a positive and ground lead. All right, I got the leads attached here on the back on these little thumb screws, and I think that's all I got to do. I think it's ready to go. So it does have like an on-off switch here. So in the middle, that's off, and then it has a number 1 and it has a number 2. And the number 1 pulses fast during the day and it slows down at night. I assume that's to help save the battery so that it lasts longer. And then number 2 setting, it pulses fast day and night. So it suggests you just use the number 1 setting for livestock. So we'll go ahead, we'll take this out in the field, see if we can get this set up. But I did get one other thing. I always hate that tester I have for the fence. It's really hard to see. So I ended up buying a new fence tester and fault finder. This one was from Speedrite. I was gonna buy the Gallagher one, but they were out of stock. So I ended up picking up this Speedrite one. You just put the fence wire right here and it'll tell you the voltage. It'll also tell you if you're grounded out against something. It'll tell you which direction along the wire, whether it's left or right, and it'll help you find where it's grounding out. So it's already got the batteries in it. You hold it down and it gives you your reading. So we'll test this out as well once we get the charger set up. Well, I was heading out here and I noticed that they messed up the water trough again, so I gotta get it fixed. Oh my goodness, it's terrible in here. The cattle keep stepping in this to cool their feet off and they keep messing it up. I think they're actually shifting it to where it's not level anymore. I think I'm just gonna have to turn this one off and just manually fill it every day. There we go, I turned that one off. Thanks a lot, cattle. So right now I've just got a fence charger attached to the battery for temporary. Let's see what it's doing. .7 kilovolts. Go ahead and get this temporary one unhooked. So this Gallagher solar fence charger can fit on top of a T-post, but it can also fit on a ground rod, just like that. And then all I gotta do is clip the ground lead to the ground rod and the positive lead to the fence. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and turn it on. Got a green light, that's good. Go ahead and see what it's reading. .3, 4.4, 5.1. Reading a little bit hotter than the other charger. So my last solar fence charger had it was basically plastic solar panel in this. This actually seems to be a glass one, so I think it's better quality for sure. So now that we got the cattle together in one group, they are grazing, they're right over there, but they're grazing this paddock right here inside of this temporary electric fence. And the rest of the pasture going down that way is not being used right now. And what I want to do is I don't want it to go to waste, is I want to go out there. I got the hay mower still hooked up and we'll go out there and cut that for hay. And that's always sort of been my plan. I knew once I got this pasture planted that the cattle wouldn't be able to keep up with it, at least in the early spring, early summer. And I always planned on getting at least one cut off of a portion of this pasture. That way I've got plenty of hay going into the wintertime. So I'm gonna go grab the tractor and we're gonna cut a little bit more hay.